Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and today I have a very special video. I am interviewing one of my favorite cozy mystery authors. Her name is Barbara Venkataraman, and she writes the Jamie Quinn mysteries. Now, Barbara first found me, and I think it was at the time that she was bundling the first 3 books in the Jamie Quinn mysteries, and I have had the privilege of listening to those on audio. They're in my Audible library, and I've listened to them more than once. And I have just finished today, well, almost finished reading the 6th book in that series. And I thought it would be fun, since it's March Mystery Madness, to bring Barbara on and just chat with her for a few minutes. Several of the other mystery readers and booktube March Mystery Madness hosts and people have been doing author interviews this month, and I just thought it would be fun to jump in and interview my own I started to say author friend. I feel like we're friends, although we have really up to this point only communicated through messages. This is our first time chatting in person. But anyway, Barbara writes the Jamie Quinn mysteries, and Jamie Quinn is a lawyer of family law, and Barbara is also a lawyer of family law. So let me let her say hello and introduce herself and tell us anything you want to tell us about you, and then we'll get into a few questions.
Hi, this is really fun. I'm glad you invited me. Anything with Mystery Madness in it appeals to me. Well, I have the Jamie Quinn series, and it's going to keep going because I love the characters. And whenever I finish a book, I go, oh, I miss you guys already. So I'm going to keep writing those. I also write some other kinds of books, but mysteries are my favorite. They always have been, and I'm happy to talk about them anytime.
Very cool. Now, before we get into talking about Jamie Quinn, let's talk just a little bit about your own history with reading and writing. Do you have any childhood favorites? Like, what got you into reading? I'm asking that on the assumption that writers read. So I'm assuming that you are a reader as well as a writer. So what were some of your early things that got you into reading? And then we'll talk about what got you into writing.
Well, I've always liked puzzles. I think I read all the Encyclopedia Brown books when I was really little. Then I read the Nancy Drew books as I got older. And I just always liked solving a puzzle and seeing if I could figure it out from the clues before I got to the end. So mysteries have always been, near and dear to my heart. But I think I was such a voracious reader. We used to have a bookmobile that came by and not a library. We didn't have a library near us. And I love that bookmobile almost as much as I love the ice cream truck.
Yeah.
So it was always fun to go in the bookmobile, and yep, that was my favorite place.
And then what made you decide to write?
Well, I don't know that I've always written little things, little poems and stories and, just little essays. I've always written because I enjoyed writing, but I would write down ideas, I would write down things, but I didn't finish a lot of things. And then, because that takes a lot of work and planning and thinking, and I didn't really know how, but eventually I figured out, I started with one story about my kids. My kids wouldn't stop playing video games. So I wrote a story where they got sucked into the video game and they had to read a book to get out.
Oh,
They
that
helped me write it. They would tell me, no, I wouldn't say that, or I wouldn't say that. And we had a lot of fun. So I had to finish it, basically. And that was like the first book I kind of really finished.
I'd read that book. Is it published?
Yes, I have it right here. It's called The Fight, The Fight for Magicalis.
I just noticed that on Amazon today. Well, I was looking to see if how many books you had, because I knew you had some essays, and I knew about the book with your son and the Jamie Quinn series. So is that, has that just been published recently?
Now that's kind of an old one.
Really?
That was actually been on there a long time. But I don't offer it that much to people because it's a kid's book, but the adults seem to like it too.
Oh yeah, I would totally read that. That looks fun. And especially now that I know what it's about. Um, So now, do you have any other authors that you like to read or that maybe have influenced you or inspired you?
Well, I always liked humor. I always tried to figure out how can you be so funny in writing, because writing, I mean, humor's so subjective, and yet some people really manage to make a lot of people laugh. Not everybody, but so I always loved Dave Barry because I grew up in Miami, and Dave Barry was a columnist before he started writing his books, and Carl Hyacin also a columnist, and then started writing novels. And my mom loved Irma Bombeck. I mean, I'm really dating myself here, but Irma Bombeck, was one of the, funny writers. And my mom could just relate to it because we have 4 kids, and who left the peach pit in the refrigerator just so they didn't have to wash the bowl, that kind of humor. And I could relate too. So I love humor writing. And so I used to read everything I could that had humor in it. And then I think I've really gone through every phase. Like I went through sci-fi, I read everything. I went through romance, I read everything. I just had these phases. The one book that scared the bejesus out of me was The Andromeda Strain, which I think I read too young. And, I don't know if you know the plot of The Andromeda Strain, but, actually astronauts come back to Earth and bring a bacteria or something on the outside of the ship, and it just starts killing everybody. And it scared me so much I couldn't finish the book, and I made my mom hide it from me.
Oh, oh, that's great. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about Jamie Quinn. So Jamie Quinn, when the series first opens, it's been a while since I have read them, but as I recall, she was sort of reluctant. Was it her mother had passed away, and she didn't want to go back to work. She kind of didn't want to face the world again. Is that correct? So what I like about Jamie Quinn is that she seems real. She's not afraid to just tell the reader where she feels like she's coming up short. Um, she has weaknesses, and she tells you about them, which I think is pretty cool, especially coming from a lawyer, because I think we have, those of us who are not lawyers tend to think that lawyers sort of have it all together. and and to me, she seems like a real person, and I appreciate that. And there is some humor. I think you've done a good job putting in a little bit of humor, especially with Duke, um, who is, for the benefit of you guys who haven't read them, he is a private investigator who she sometimes hires to investigate, to serve papers, things like that. And he is just a hilarious character, and has, it really brings in a lot of humor. So, um, anyway, I want you to tell about Jamie. We'll get into the title of the first book in a minute, because that's a great story. But as far as just Jamie, the character, do you think now, since you are a lawyer and Jamie is a lawyer, is there a little bit of you in her, or is she you, or how much of her is you? That, I guess that's a good question.
Well, I say she's my alter ego, but she's me times on steroids. She gets to have all the fun and do all the crazy stuff, and she's got a lot of neuroses. She's got a lot of phobias. She's not afraid to. She's afraid of a lot of things, but that's kind of me. And but it's funny that you said that about her feeling like she's real, because so many people say to me, I think that Jamie and I could be good friends. They all say
Yeah,
that. I wish I could be friends with Jamie. I wish I could have coffee with Jamie. I say, me too.
yeah. Yes, yes, and there's a good array of characters. She has a boyfriend, Kip, and then I'm trying to remember now. At the very first of the in the very first installment, there is a special needs character, and he is the one who's accused of the murder. And I meant to ask you when we were chatting earlier if you have anyone in your life with special needs, or what made you decide to add a special needs character into your book? What inspired that?
My nephew's on the autism spectrum,
Okay.
and he really inspired, you know, very, very smart, but still emotionally kind of young, you know,
Mhm.
which is, it's really refreshing. I mean, he's got a really refreshing personality. He's young, he's, you know, enthusiastic, but then you don't expect him to be just so smart and so, you know, well, he's just, you know, like an adult and a kid.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so he's my nephew is who's yeah who the character Adam is based on.
Awesome. So there are 6 books in the series right now, and the first one is very short. And I think my only complaint about it is that I would love for it to be longer. But the title, for those of you out there who haven't heard of this series, is called Death by Didgeridoo. Now, if you don't know what a didgeridoo is, Barbara is going to show you, and I want her to share the story of how this title came about. Because I asked her, I said, it's such an unusual title. Did you think of this great title and then decide to write a book around it, or did you have the idea for the book and then you found the title, or what happened? So you can show them and tell them. It's a great story.
All right, well, first of all, a didgeridoo. This is a didgeridoo, and it is an Aboriginal wind instrument. Mine is plastic, not wood, but normally they're wood. And as you can see, it's quite big and it's also pretty heavy, even though it's plastic. And it sounds like, I would say bees, you know, hit hornet. I always say hornets hitting a whoopee cushion. It sounds really awful. I'll just give you one. That's a didgeridoo. And the reason I have a didgeridoo, I'm not musical, as you may have surmised. I had a problem with sleep apnea. I couldn't sleep, and the cure for sleep apnea is to wear a mask like Darth Vader, which I that shoves air up your nose, like a hurricane going up your nose, and I just couldn't stand it. So I was surfing the net for other cures, and I came up with learn how to play the didgeridoo, and I thought, sure, I can do that. So I order this didgeridoo, and I'm trying to play, and it's very I was very winded when I would play it, and I would like hyperventilate. And one time I got a little dizzy and I dropped it and broke a glass top on a table. And I thought, this thing is really dangerous. I think you could kill somebody with it. And then the title Death by Didgeridoo popped into my head, and I couldn't stop laughing about it. So I went in the back room and I started swinging it around like I was hitting somebody. And my husband walked in. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Trying to see if I can kill somebody with a didgeridoo." And he said, "Should I be worried?" I said, "No, no. Dinner will be in 10 minutes. Just let me finish." So I came up with the title first. And then I thought, who would have a didgeridoo? Who would get killed with a didgeridoo? Who would do it? Who could get blamed for it? Who didn't do it? And I just kept asking questions, and I couldn't stop asking questions about this silly title. And I thought, well, a music teacher gets killed. And then I thought, one of his students is going to get blamed, but he didn't do it, but it's his didgeridoo. And I just kept going back and forth. And that's how I came up with it. And I know it's short because I really didn't know what I was doing as far as like writing out, you know, filling in a novel. And then someone said something about this being a cozy mystery. And I go, is that what it is? Because I didn't know what a cozy mystery was. So I realized it was a cozy mystery. And then every book since Death by Didgeridoo has gotten longer and more complex and has more characters. Some of the old ones come back, then there's new ones. But yeah, that was my first try. And I thought, I'll self-publish it, and if people hate it, I'll just take it down. And
And it's great.
people liked it, so I kept
Yeah,
going.
yeah. In fact,
It is short.
I was looking on Amazon today just to give everyone information if you want to look these up. I think probably the best value if you want to try out the Jamie Quinn mysteries is to they're available. The first 5 are available on Audible on audio, but they're also on Kindle. And if you go on Kindle and look under ebooks, you can get them individually, but the first 3 are in a bundle. And that is how I first read these, because Barbara contacted me to see if I wanted to review them. So yeah, there's the physical copy there, but you can get that bundle on ebook as well. But if you prefer a physical copy, I'm sure they're on Amazon. And but I think that's the best value to, because you can get the first two, because the first one's so short, you're going to read it and you're going to love it and you're going to want the next one right away. So why not just go ahead and get all three of the first ones? So, and then of course, if you love that, which you will, then you can go on and get the rest of them from there. So I have been reading the last one, which I was trying to finish before we had this interview, and I realized I was on like the last couple of chapters, and then somehow I must have hit the thing wrong, and I was hurrying up trying to get on the computer to get on here, and that's redundant, sorry. And I realized I was hearing the same thing over again from somehow my Kindle had skipped back to like chapter 34 or something. So I was like, ugh, so I didn't quite finish it. So I don't know exactly what happens, but the thing that I enjoyed about this one, this last one, Malice in Miami, is that it has a bit of an environmental theme. And oh yes, there you go. There's the cover. It deals a little bit with Big Sugar, so she's got some sugar on the cover there. And also Jamie is getting framed for something. I mean, she's finding herself in trouble when she didn't do anything. So there's several things going on in that one that are very interesting and very compelling. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend anyone out there watching, especially if you love cozy mysteries, that you check out the Jamie Quinn mysteries. In fact, I think I even included Jamie Quinn several years ago. I did a video on where to start with cozy mysteries, and I recommended 5 different series, and this was one of them, because the first 2 are, you know, really short. So if you're not sure you're going to like a cozy mystery, then that's a great place to start, is with something that's quick and fun, and I would definitely recommend it. So do you have anything else you want to tell us about Jamie Quinn? Oh, I know what we didn't really address was her father. One of the mysteries involved in the story is that she never knew her father initially. And so that mystery plays out. And I don't want to spoil anything, but when her mother died, she did not know her father at that point. I think, did she even know his name in the beginning? I'm trying to remember.
She knew his name, but she knew the anglicized version of his name, but it was his real name is a Spanish name. So she didn't know who he was or how to find him or anything, and her mother never talked about him. And then she figured like that was a lost thing. And so at the very end of the book, I think it's the end of the first book or the second book. The second book, she asked Duke to help her find her father.
Okay, that's
So
right. That's right.
that is something that goes through a couple of books.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I don't want to spoil anything. So
And
that's a fun story
yeah.
arc that goes through, and then so that continues. Um, okay, so let's before it gets too late, let's talk about a couple of other things. Now, you have several books that are essays, and I have one of them that I've read. It's called A Smidge of Crazy, I think, which are just some fun essays. And then I just bought another one today that may include that one, but it was like a bundle of some of your other essays. So those are fun. As I recall, it's been a while since I read A Smidge of Crazy, but I mean, with a title like that, you know that it's going to be fun. So if you enjoy reading nonfiction as opposed to fiction, or if you like a little bit of both, then you'll definitely want to check those out. So is there anything you want to say about your essays? And before we move into the Groveland story?
Yes, actually, the essays, some of them were. One of them is about the fact that I had sleep apnea and I had to spend the night in the sleep clinic, and it was called Nightmare at the Sleep Clinic, and it's just very Kafka-esque. It's surreal, you know, the way they treat you there, and so that one, a lot of people can relate and they think it's funny. The one of the books in the bundle is A Trip to the Hardware Store and Other Calamities, and that particular story is about my dad, how every home improvement he tried, he made worse. And he'd be saying, oh, I think I'll go to the hardware store. And all the kids were like, no, not the hardware store. You know, the water would be turned off and things would be, you know, more broken than before. So, and my dad was a character, and he inspired quite a few of the stories. One of them was about his crazy hobbies, because his hobbies would take over our house. I mean, just absolutely, you know, they'd be everywhere. And so he liked that one so much, he asked me to read it at his funeral.
Oh,
So I did.
aw,
It really did.
that's great.
It did describe him to a T, and it was actually, he thought it was funny, but it was funny because he was funny.
Since
So
you
yeah,
said that,
the essays, they're all humorous.
I love that you mentioned that because I think it's important to bring humor in to a funeral. And people are probably looking at me like, what are you talking about? If the person who has died is someone who likes to make people laugh, then that's a perfect send off, especially if they enjoy, that kind of story. At my own dad's funeral, one of his students read a eulogy, and he included one of our favorite stories that he used to tell about his college years. And you know my dad was a kind of man who liked to make people laugh. He was a junior high and high school science teacher, and he liked to cut up with the students and make help them to enjoy chemistry and all that kind of stuff. And I think he would have appreciated the fact that we made people help people to laugh, when he passed on. So I like that. I love that idea. So yes, definitely everyone out there, check out her essays. And then on a more serious note, she has a book that was actually written by her son, co-written. And I want to show, before she shows her book, I want to show you this one, because this one was one that my husband has read that you may have heard of. Devil in the Grove is about by Gilbert King, is about I always want to say, is there six of them? The
Four.
Groveland
Yeah,
boys.
the
Go ahead.
Groveland four.
Four. There is four. Okay. So some people, I don't know the whole story, but this is a Pulitzer Prize, and her son is also a lawyer, and posthumously, is that correct? Because they passed away now? He has cleared them and went through the process of clearing them because they were wrongly accused. And so show us the book that you and your son wrote, and tell us a little bit about that.
Here we go. Well, actually, Josh isn't a lawyer. Works for Viacom CBS. But
Oh, okay.
when
I'm
he
sorry.
was in college at University of Florida, yeah, he had to read the book The Devil in the Grove. It was an assignment, and he was just horrified by it. A 17-year-old white woman accuses four black men, young men, of a heinous crime, assaulting her, and in the Jim Crow South in 1949. I mean, these guys didn't even know each other. One of them was actually in jail. I mean, he came to Groveland to look for work because his girlfriend was pregnant. He was only 15. And the minute he got to Groveland, they put him in jail for loitering. And the next day, he was in jail the whole time. The next day, they accused him of this heinous crime. He went into court. He had no idea what was going on. He got life in prison for a crime that he could not possibly have committed. These other three, I mean, so this blew up so badly. I mean, The Devil in the Grove talks about it. Gilbert King spent 5 years researching it and digging up unsealing the FBI files. But the Central Florida was actually the seat of the Ku Klux Klan. They had a very big group there, and they went and destroyed all the black businesses, burned them to the ground. I mean, terrorized all the black families. And then the National Guard had to be called in. So then they right away, they shoot dead one of the accused guys. He ran away, and 1,000 Ku Klux Klanmen and the sheriff leading them shot him dead while he slept under a tree. I mean, I think he was shot 400 times. And the other three were convicted, and the youngest one was given life because he was a minor. Like I said, he was in jail. And then the other two were given the death sentence. So Thurgood Marshall, this was one of his first big cases. He came to defend them, and he got the Supreme Court to overturn their sentences. And so the sheriff took them out in a field and shot them. And one of them survived. So then he was retried. He went back to jail. So now you got the youngest one and the one who was grievously wounded, who was reconvicted and put back in jail. So eventually these two men were released. So the Charles Greenlee, the youngest one, he went to jail at 16 and he got out at 28. And then the other one, Walter Greenlee, Walter Irvin, got out. I forget, he was in his 40s or something. But anyway, so they so Josh read the book. He was totally horrified. He also knew that the families were trying to posthumously clear the names of the four men. So one day he's driving back to Gainesville and he sees the sign for Groveland on the highway and he just started crying. And he called me. He's like, I really want to help. I don't know what to do. So I helped him find Carol Greenlee, who's the daughter that was actually Charles Greenlee's girlfriend was pregnant with Carol. And that's why he went to Groveland. So she's the one who was really leading the charge, trying to clear the names. And so Josh convinced her that he wanted to help. And so so he started a petition. And I mean, he's a college kid. He's 20 years old. He knows nothing. He's got no experience, no connections, nothing. So when he told my husband and me that he wanted to do this, we thought, well, that's really nice, but it's been 70 years or whatever, 68 years at that point. Nothing's going to come of it, If Gilbert King exposing all that and writing a Pulitzer Prize winning book didn't get them to get posthumous pardons, you're not going to be able to do it. So anyway, he started a petition and the petition went nowhere. And then he was a very pig-headed child. So he and Carol just kept at it. And 4 years later, they succeeded. And I was going to show you, I wish I had the pictures in color here, but I don't. The very first time Josh and Carol, they were working together for a year before they actually met. And here's the picture of them when they met. After a year of working together. I don't know if you can see it. It's very sweet. And then I want to show you the picture when the pardons were granted. That picture is just really, really powerful. But he wrote this book to show other people that you really can make a difference.
Absolutely.
So here's the pictures when they heard when the pardon was granted.
Wow.
It was so emotional to be there. I can't even begin to tell you.
That's amazing. What a great story.
I mean, so it was something else. I mean, and they kept hitting roadblocks and they just kept doing something different, and they brought everyone in the community into it, and they finally did it. And so this book is really, we call it a primer for activism, but it is to teach people that you can change things if you just pick something and keep going.
Wow. Now, so my apologies that I misstated. He is not a lawyer. And so what is his profession? And how was he able to juggle for 4 years? How was he able to juggle work? Or you said he started out doing it when he was in college, right?
Yeah. He started out, I think, as a sophomore or junior, but he does digital advertising for Viacom CBS.
Okay.
But he's always been into social justice, and he's always wanted it to help with a cause, and he found one.
That's amazing. And you mentioned that you yourself are a volunteer. What are some of the things that you do as a volunteer?
I'm very active with the League of Women Voters. We're nonpartisan, and we just try to educate voters on the issues, and also, register people to vote and explain how important voting is. And also, I'm the chairperson of the Gun Safety Committee, and I formed a partnership with the VA Suicide Prevention Department, and they've given us gun locks, and we've distributed 14,000 gun locks in our community, because people just don't understand that locking up a gun, it's such a simple thing. But in the United States, a gun is stolen every 2 minutes, mostly out of cars, and that those guns are used to commit crime. And also, the other thing people don't know is that 2/3 of all gun deaths are suicide, and that access to a gun makes an impulsive decision a lethal decision. And so if people would lock up guns, they could, prevent suicide, reduce crime, and protect kids. I mean, 8 kids are unintentionally shot every day. So just locking up the gun and talking to other people, like, is your gun locked up? You could save a life. You really
Absolutely.
could. So
Absolutely.
that's what I do.
Wow, well, that's wonderful. So you're a lawyer and a writer, an author, and an activist and a volunteer. So what a wonderful, well-rounded life that you have. That's fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me. And I'm sure when I get off of here, I'll have 10 other questions that I forgot to ask, but I know you're busy and I don't want to keep you. And I just really appreciate you coming on here. Before we sign off, is there anything else you would like for us to, well, do you want to show us any of the books? I realized we talked about the first three and we talked about book 6, and I didn't give you the opportunity to show the other books. Do you want to show the individual books? And let's tell each title.
Sure, sure.
We've got Death by Didgeridoo, and then what?
Okay, well, I don't have them all with me. Yeah, I don't have them all with me. I have
Show us
Tea
what you have.
Time with Mrs. Grammar Person, which a lot of people, I'm always correcting grammar. So I always said, excuse me for being Mrs. Grammar Person. And I thought, I don't need to excuse myself. I am Mrs. Grammar Person.
Oh, I need to read
Mrs.
that.
Grammar Person is very sweet. She's like a Mary Poppins and Mrs. Doubtfire kind of lady.
I saw that one on
So
Amazon,
that one's
and
fun.
I'm buying that one today. I love that. I saw a booktuber once who showed a cup or a mug that someone had given her for Christmas, and when you hold it up, it says on it, "Excuse me, I'm correcting your grammar while you're speaking," or something like that. Or I'm silently correcting your grammar while you're speaking, or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's perfect.
So funny. That's so funny. Um, well, I was going to say one more thing I forgot is that nobody in my Jamie Quinn novels is ever killed with a gun. So I have to do a lot of research, and I'm surprised the FBI hasn't knocked on my door yet about looking up how many ways to murder people.
Wow. I had not
But
even
this
realized
is my
that.
first book, The Fight for Magicalis. Yeah, The Fight for Magicalis is the first book I wrote, and that was about my kids. Actually, Josh is in 2 books. He was little, and my son Scott. They wouldn't stop playing video games. I couldn't convince them to read a book, so I wrote a book where they get sucked into their video game, and the only way out is to read a book. And they had a lot of fun with it. And every night I'd write a chapter, and they'd wake up and read it, and then they would tell me, "I wouldn't say that," or "Why does he get to do all the fun stuff?" And then I would I finished that book, and that was really fun. So that was
I
kind
want to
of the
read that.
beginning of putting, finishing books and putting them up for sale. Yeah. And let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so I have the three essay books. I have the 6 Jamie Quinn books. I have Tea Time, I have Fight for Magicalis, and
Let's go
I
over the
have a
titles of
short story
the
called
titles
If
of the
You
Jamie
Just Listen
Quinn
in the
books.
First Place. Yeah. Oh,
Let's
Death
go
by
over.
Didgeridoo, The Case of the Killer. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So the first 3 are Death by Didgeridoo, The Case of the Killer Divorce, Peril in the Park, then Engaged in Danger, Jeopardy in July, and Malice in Miami. So I have a little alliteration problem.
I love alliterations.
I like it.
Love it.
Yeah. And and my most recent project is the shorts books. We started a project, a flash fiction project, to write a story in exactly 100 words. And so it was just for fun between projects, and I got a bunch of people to help. I mean, people who were published and people who weren't published. And we made the first one on Halloween, and we called it Scary Shorts. And it's 100-word scary Halloween stories.
Oh.
And then we did another one for the holidays. We called it Holiday Shorts. We just did Valentine Shorts. And then for Memorial Day, we're going to have Dog Days of Summer Shorts. So that's for short.
I wondered. I saw that that those were labeled flash fiction, and I didn't know what those meant. When you said 100 words, it struck a memory. Have you read that story called Vox, about how it's like a futuristic world where women are only allowed to speak 100 words a day?
No.
So I hated the book, but I thought the concept was interesting, and I did my review on Goodreads in exactly 100 words.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, well,
I think you'd like the shorts. They're cute.
yeah, I want to read those for sure. So I apologize, all of you out there, about the drag. We tried 2 or 3 different things. I ended up having to use my old computer today, which is kind of draggy, and so we've had some lag with our audio and everything. I tried to use my daughter's computer, but it was not letting me do Zoom like I needed to. So anyway, I appreciate Barbara being so flexible, because we would sign off and come back on and sign off and come back on, and anyway, we finally, this is the end result, and I apologize if the audio is not great, but we had already had to reschedule this once, and so I just appreciate her being so flexible and willing to come on and do this for March Mystery Madness. So I hope that you will check out the Jamie Quinn mysteries, or any of her other books that sound interesting to you. She's got some really fun essays, and I am definitely going to go and look up that children's book. Just for the first time today, I noticed it when I went and searched on Kindle, and I realized that I had not seen that one before. So I'm excited to read that. And now that I know that it's her first book and what the premise is, I'm really excited about it. So that is all I have. Any other final words?
No, thank you. This was it's a lot of fun. Everything's on audio too, almost everything. So if I could give you a code for that. But I really appreciate this. This is a blast, and I look forward to the rest of March
Oh, I
Mystery
know what I
Madness.
was going to ask you is, because I was looking on audio now. Several of her books are on Audible. Is there any plans at all to put any of your things on Audible Plus? Because I know there are, several people maybe watching who have Audible Plus, because some of your books are on Kindle Unlimited. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm not even familiar with Audible Plus. I'm not sure. Is it new? Is it
Kind of new.
What's the
Yeah, it
difference?
started in November when they did away with Audible Escape, which was the romance. They brought up Audible Plus, which it goes across genres. And for one price per
Oh,
month, you can access the Audible Plus catalog. So it might be something fun to look into. And I don't know what's involved in it at all, but it works kind of like Kindle Unlimited, except that it's audio. Yeah.
okay. Sounds good. I kind of thought mine were available if everyone had a subscription, but I don't. I will look.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good. A good idea.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Well, to everyone out there, thanks for watching. Barbara, thank you for joining me. And I hope you guys are reading some great books this month for March Mystery Madness. Check out Jamie Quinn and all the books by Barbara Venkataraman. I will put the spelling of her name for sure in the description of this video so that you can find her and her books wherever you buy your books. So that's all for this video. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.